Hello, my lovely friends, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing a bit of reorganizing and moving some stuff around. I thought that I might be working in the journal today, but I decided to take a little bit of a break. And there's a few things that have been sort of nagging me, sort of in the back of my mind as far as supplies and where some of my stuff was. So I decided to listen to my inner self who wanted to organize. And I thought, you know what? I had that washi tape up on the shelf there for the longest time, and I had all the washi tape on this thread holder, and it was something I had seen on Pinterest, and I loved it, and it looked great, and it was a lovely display of washi tape. But if I'm totally honest, I shouldn't say I never, but I very rarely reached for the washi tape that was up there. And this had been sort of bothering me. So I thought, you know what, today's the day. I'm going to move some stuff around. I'm going to reorganize these shelves a tiny little bit because I had some ideas about why I wanted to move some of the stuff there as well as on that shelf with the washi tape. And, there's always this thing about we have all this stuff and we put the stuff in. I always say we put our stuff in stuff. We put it in boxes, we put it in bags. And then we kind of forget that's what's there because we don't open it up or we don't look in it or whatever. So I love the idea that I'm going to reorganize. Yes, that stuff down there has to go. And it's just a really great way of familiarizing yourself with what you have and taking a look at stacks of this and stacks of that and what's in these boxes. And really ask yourself, do I need to keep this? Am I using this? Does it still bring me joy? What have I got in this pouch? What have I got there? I'm looking at my rubber stamps thinking, I'm just sort of allowing myself to have some time and space, basically just to reevaluate. And I find it a really good exercise. Not only does it help me look at what I have and why am I keeping it, but I also like the idea of just re-evaluating. Now, I've got this washi tape here in this little holder here. This was the washi tape that was up on the shelf on the thread holder. And I decided to put it here because, I thought if I have the washi tape down and I have easy access to it, I'm going to be more apt to use it rather than just having it sit up on a shelf and look nice, because craft supplies at the end of the day were made to be used and enjoyed, not just admired, right? So I was thinking that what I was going to do was, hang on, yes, why move my washi tape? Okay, so I have this here, and I really like having this right on my desk. It's got a lot of the basics in there. It's got some of the polka dot washi tape, the graph washi tape. I've just got some of my favorites in here. Stuff with numbers, but there's also some seasonal stuff or colors that I think that would be really good for the time of the year, right? But again, the problem is I tend to gravitate towards using this washi tape all the time, whether it's in my journals or whether it's for Happy Mail, because it's right here. It's right at my fingertips. And I also have this tray of washi tape, which is also a tray full of favorites. And of course, I'm using those all the time because they're right there. But that rack of washi tape never got used. So I thought, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to bring this washi tape over here and I'm going to switch out maybe once a month the washi tape that's in here with the washi tape that's in the other trays that are my favorites. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth with the washi so that I'm not sticking to the same washi tape over and over and over again. I love washi, and as you can see, I have quite a big collection of washi tape. And I have this cupcake holder, which I almost got rid of 1,000 times because it's big, it's bulky, it's hard to find somewhere for it to fit. But it's absolutely amazing for holding wide washi, big washi, all this like thick, not heavy, but wider rolls of washi tape. And so I found this cupcake holder to be invaluable for that. And yes, that concludes the washi tape portion of our video. Okay, so then what I've done is I've put this tray of washi tape on one of these freezer or refrigerator shelves. Every time I see them at Value Village or the Goodwill, I buy them because they are ridiculously expensive to buy new. It's insane how much they want to buy. They're like $30 or something because they're for organizing. I don't know. But when I see them in the Goodwill, I automatically grab them because they're very handy. Okay, so now I've got this cart, and like so many other things, I like the suitcase on the top shelf and I like using it, but I put the things on the shelf and then or on the trays rather, and then I forget that the stuff is there. And I have a ton again of junk journaling stuff that I want to add, things that I've saved, happy mail that's in here. I've got my college transcripts. Like, yeah, I don't know why I've kept that there. That's all my marks from fashion school when I graduated in, I don't know, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And I make jokes that I hang on to it to remind myself that I actually graduated because so many times I have these nightmares where I get a phone call and it's like, you need one more credit, you've got to go back. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go back and do it all over again, right? Anyhow, I digress. This cart, I just decided this cart needs to go. I need to take what's on here and try and figure out how to put it on the shelves. I'm going to have to move some more stuff around. And I really love carts. I love using them. I love having them there. And I usually just pull it over and I sort of stick it in the corner there. But it's in the way. There's too much stuff there. I've got the printer and my stool, the sewing machine. I'm constantly moving the cart around. It makes me a little bit crazy. So at the end of the day, it's not really that handy if it's always in the way, right? So I've got out some of my favorite vintage boxes and I've pulled out some of my favorite makeup cases as well. And I'm trying to figure out what's going to go on what shelf. And it's sort of based on how I can easily reach things. So I've got these makeup cases that I absolutely love. I think are pretty. I love putting these kinds of things on display. And I have these, what do you call them, clamps. I got label making tape there. And in here is a ton of two-way tape. And not that I forget that I've had this here, but again, I don't reach for it as much as I normally might because it's tucked away and put somewhere. Like these, I almost bought clamps the other day on Amazon and I was making journals and I wanted to clip corners or clamp corners. And I was like, I really need some clamps. And then 2 days later, I opened up that case and I'm like, no, you have the clamps. It's a good thing you didn't buy them. So it's that kind of thing, right? That's why it's really good to go through these cases and boxes and see what you've got. I found my Fujifilm camera, which I'm going to be using this week. And I promised myself, in the interest of using what we've got, I'm also going to use my HP mini printer, which I put on a shelf. And I forgot about it, which is absolutely terrible because I really, really wanted it. And it's fun to use, but I just forget that I have it. So I've got just a few of these very old, well, not old, but I have a ton of jewelry supplies left over from when I had my own store. And I closed it over 10 years ago, but I hung on to a lot of the jewelry supplies because they're paid for. And I thought, I'll figure out something interesting to do with them. And so I've got all kinds of, there's actually really interesting stuff here. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some of the old jewelry stuff in a jewelry box so that when I look at it and I see it on the shelf, I'll be like, oh yeah, there's jewelry in there. There's some applique in there. I've got these pearls in here. And I've sort of thought, with this kind of thing in particular, if I don't use this stuff in the next 6 months, then I will start to really go through it and seriously get rid of and donate the things that I'm not going to use. But I need to put an effort into using them. Like those would be good for Halloween, right? I could glue that onto something. So we're going to close that up. Again, remind myself there's jewelry in the jewelry box. And what am I doing there? I'm not 100% sure. Oh, I know. I pull this over because as I'm cleaning and I'm dusting this stuff off and I'm looking at it, I love to use these clear drawers, or at least I thought I did. Because the idea is if you can see what's in them, then you're going to be more apt to go in and take the things out of them and use them. And I have that one there, and I have this set here with stamps and rubber stamps. This here, I have to say, since I put these rubber stamps in these drawers, I use them all the time. I use them far more than I ever have. But it really occurred to me that just because I can see in these drawers, it has not prompted me to actually use the supplies more that are in the drawers. And so it really made me think, do I need to have all of these see-through drawers if I'm not going to use on a regular basis what's in them? And so it was sort of a weird thing in my brain. I'm like, I've had them here, I can see them every day, I see what's in there every day, but I just don't gravitate. So is it that I just don't like the supplies that are in them? Not those corners, I love those. And I put paper frames. I put new supplies in these. I switched some stuff around. So we'll see. We'll see what I do. I'm going to put those back up on the shelf there at some point, and we'll see if I make more of an effort to use what's in them. You know, we have these big ideas and we think, oh, this is going to be the perfect solution to my problem. And then for whatever reason, psychologically, it just doesn't mesh. It just doesn't work, right? And so I'm really trying and deciding, do I keep these? Do they go to the Goodwill? And of course, no, in the end, I decide I'm going to keep them. And then Lucy comes and decides that I should keep them as well. Okay, my lovely friends, I have finished, and I'm going to show you the final result here. I have to say I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It definitely looks a lot different. Certainly for me, it looks a lot different than it did before. I have to say that the biggest difference on some level is that this is just a little bit more practical, I suppose. As much as I loved the way that the washi tape looked there on the thread holder, it just took up too much space at the end of the day. And like I said, I wasn't actively going in and reaching for that washi tape all the time. So hopefully my new setup here will provide some variation for me when it comes to washi tape. So what I did was I put the jewelry supplies are in there, more jewelry supplies are in there, oops. And over here in this box, I have added more old jewelry supplies and some sort of like hardware bits and pieces, things that I want to experiment with and use in my journals going forward that I think will be fun to put a new twist on them. Here, these things still carry the things that I showed you before, the clips and the tape, etc., etc. And again, in these tins here, just more jewelry supplies that I'm going to try and breathe new life into. I can just reach them there. But I think I'm going to have a lot of fun playing with all this stuff that could have been earrings and necklaces, but now I'm going to be putting in my journals. So what remains to be seen is what I end up doing with these things. It really has miffed me when I sat and thought about it. I was like, it's interesting to me that I was not pulling the stuff out of the drawers in the way that I thought I would. Same with these. You know, you sort of have, you think, okay, I've got these ideas, I'm going to see it, therefore I'm going to use it. Like you make this big proclamation that this is going to be great. And so I would look over here and I think, well, I got a lot of stamps in here that need to get used up, and I got a ton of Tim Holtz ephemera, so I should be using some of that. I think that part of it for me, it isn't so much that, how do I say this? It's just not what I want to use at the time. I look at it, I recognize it, but then I look at what I've got, and let's say like a bin like this, and I'm more focused on using whatever I've collected and put in here, and I'm not so much in the mood, I suppose, for lack of a better word, to use what's in here. It does make me question on some level how much stuff that I hang on to, how much junk I hang on to use in the junk journal. We've talked about this a little bit before in other videos, and certainly lots of other people have talked about it. That's the downside to the junk journaling, is you are trying to find that fine line between how much stuff to keep to use in the junk journal and what to get rid of. Because, you know, you like it, you want to keep it, it's fun. But the question is, are you going to get to all of it and use all of it, right? So I am happy to report, ta-da, that the cart is gone. And I did manage to get the things from the cart onto the shelf here. So I did move a few things. I rearranged just a few things. I took the binders that were all here, and I managed to fit them all down in here. These are full of acrylic stamps here, and a lot of this is ephemera and fussy cuts and stickers that I have left over from card making. So there's some really good stuff in there, but at some point, again, I'm going to have to go through there and just have a really honest conversation with myself about what I'm actually going to use and what I'm just hanging on to because, you know, I have some sort of sentimental attachment to it. Here comes Sophie, I think. Maybe not. Oh yeah, there she is. So, the stuff on the cart, I went through and got rid of what I didn't need, and it either went in the basket here, or, whoops, sorry, Soph, in the box here. And I'm very happy with this. As much as I did, like I said, I like the look of the cart there. The cart was kind of handy. Between the stool here and my printer and the sewing machine, you know, to have the cart there really wasn't very practical or smart at all. So we'll see how this works. Because the way I'm sort of thinking, sometimes I find stuff or I print stuff and I think, okay, I want to put that in the journal, but I don't obviously have time to do it right now. So I can just toss it in this basket here, or I can just flip this lid up quickly, toss the ephemera or whatever it is, photos in there, and then get to it later. What do you think, Soph? Yeah, okay. Thanks for coming out. So I took down the white train case that was here in the cart. I replaced it with this case that I had decoupaged for another project. And all the stuff that was in the case that I showed you there, all the ephemera, I just put it in there for now. And I'll get to that later. This is the other clear case. The clear drawers. This is empty for now. I don't have anything in here. I have to rethink this for a bit. And I've sort of made a deal with myself that in the next few months, if I don't find a good use for them, then they'll go back to Value Village. Because I'm pretty sure that's where they came from. It's not like they owe me anything, right? Right, Soph? Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. I have to say, I feel like $1,000,000. It is amazing what some reorganizing, decluttering, and getting rid of stuff, what it can do for the soul, and what it certainly can do for your mood. And it's nice, on the other hand, too, it gives you something new to look at. When we have all of our supplies and we move them around, it's nice to be able to go, oh yeah, I forgot, I that, and then, you know, this, and all of it. So, I'm very happy. Like I said, it wasn't what I was necessarily expecting to do this week, but there you have it. Sometimes your creative soul and your organizing soul wants what it wants. Thank you, everyone, for spending this time and hanging out in my studio with me and looking at all my stuff. Like I said, you know, I've said this before, we can't help it. We want to know what is in other people's craft rooms. What have they got in the boxes? What do they put in the boxes? Why do they put their stuff in the boxes? It's just really fun to look and see how other people organize and what works for them. Because inevitably, we you know, you picking up little tips, little things you hadn't thought of. You try different things. And yeah, it's just the cycle of life, right? Moving stuff from one shelf to another. Anyhow, I really do appreciate you being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for spending this time with me. And as I say at the end of all my videos, speak kindly to yourselves. Enjoy your journal or your organizing process until the next video. Mwah. Take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, Sophie. What you doing up there? I was going to do some cleaning and dusting, but I guess maybe I'll wait now, huh? Okay. Okay, well, as long as you're comfy, that's all that matters.